Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Loner and NEXGenius here on Scrap Station. This is game 1 in a best of 3 matchup from BlizzCon 2010 from the stage matches. Now, if you did not know, Loner has not been defeated in a best of 3 matchup at this stage in the game. I do know some of the results, but I don't want to try to share too much. It's kind of hard to look back on any of this weekend without remembering some of it, but I did not see these games, so this will be the first time I am casting these games and reviewing these games with you. NEXGenius spawning as the red Protoss at the 12 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Loner spawning here as the blue Terran. So Terran versus Protoss here on Scrap Station, and it should be a pretty interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to this. Both of these players had to play a lot of really strong people in order to get to the finals. I met MTW Daimaga, I met Loner, I met... who else did I meet? I met Liquid TLO, I met Liquid Huck, all really nice guys, and I'm really looking forward to this particular matchup as well. And I believe Loner also defeated Sen on a stage match as well, so really the Chinese players bringing it to the Koreans, and now we see a barracks being placed down here. So we have a classic, I believe NEXGenius is from Korea, so I believe it's going to be a Korean versus China matchup here on Scrap Station for the finals as an SCV now makes its way out across the map. So a standard 13 scouting SCV coming in from Loner. Meanwhile, NEXGenius moving out with this probe a little bit later, but what he really wants to see is whether or not there is a refinery in play, and therefore knowing that he's not going for some crazy mass barrack strategy. On top of that, he wants to see if there's going to be a tech lab placed down or if he's going to go straight into an early factory. We now see this SCV going to be coming up this ramp in just a few seconds. And this game, the scouting and all the important information will be revealed. We do see already the gateway now warping in. We should probably be seeing a cybernetics core in just a moment as well. Will it be placed? No, not in the back of the base, just right over here in plain view. So Loner just able to get all this information. Meanwhile, over here, NEXGenius is stealing some minerals from his opponent, Loner, and now those 5 minerals will be able to return all the way home as a Marine does not walk as fast as a probe, and that probe able to just move out. The probe may be trying to place down a proxy pylon though. Based upon this positioning here, we do see a second assimilator though. So a second assimilator is a pretty curious strategy. And now we see that this probe trying to come up back up this ramp, and now in comes a Marine. So that Marine able to get off a couple quick shots onto that probe. And now a second Marine also out as well as that tech lab now being placed down. This Marine needs to come back over here in order to chase down that probe. And it looks like that one probe will be able to escape out. No, that probe just stuck in the back of the base, as the SCV from his opponent will be trying to come back in. And now those Marines making their way for that probe. That probe doesn't stand a chance to the micro, and down it goes. One SCV over here by Loner. Loner walking back. However, this one SCV does not have any minerals in its hand. Just going to stand over here and activate this Zelnaga watchtower. We do have a pylon now being warped in here, so very curious positioning on NEXGenius's pylons. You can see that none of them double power any buildings, but this one pylon here will be fairly difficult to get to, and now scanner sweeps will take a very difficult time trying to reveal any true tech. Do you scan over here where you saw the pylon, or do you try to scan over here? It makes it very difficult for a Terran player to use those scanner sweeps, as those scanner sweeps are fairly expensive for a Terran player. Each scanner sweep means that you will not be using a mule, and a mule really generates around 250 minerals, I believe, is the calculation. Anyway, back over here, we do see a stalker now trying to make sure that there are no hidden SCVs anywhere on the map, as now this SCV coming back in to do more scouting. So this is going to be a robotics facility into a 2-gate. And now with warp gate research nearing completion, all of those gateway units will be able to come into the battlefield much more quickly. I believe it becomes 10 game seconds faster, which is which is the same as a chrono boost. So yeah, as a Protoss player, always get warp gate. Warp gate enables you to get those units out much more quickly, and now gateway will be upgraded to a warp gate in just a few seconds. We do see a command center now being placed down by Loner. So Loner now going for an early command center at close to the 6-minute mark, and probably that was placed down around the 5-minute mark. Yeah, around the 5-minute mark. In order to set up a very strong economy. Will this pay off? I do not know, as is SCV now going to come into this position here and try to take down or activate the Zelnaga watchtower. No, just simply ignoring it. That SCV just going to walk head on into a group of stalkers and a sentry there. It's not going to stand a chance. Sentry's just going to be able to zap it down. There it goes. So we do have 1 bunker, 2 Marines, and also most likely a Marauder will be placed in there in just a second. Also training up more Marines. We do see stim pack research first, so all of these Marines and Marauders will be able to use that stim and be very aggressive. NEXGenius is getting a Nexus down over here, probably upgrading to an orbital command before it lifts off. One of those really smart plays. And you may wonder why you don't try to lift off earlier. Well, the two reasons are, one, you want to get that energy onto that command center as quickly as possible. So what you can do is, with the command center here, you can start calling down mules here if you're unable to establish your expansion. On top of that, getting your orbital command faster lets you start charging up energy on that orbital command. And then when you're finally ready, all you do is just lift it off and wait until you're at full saturation. One of the curious things about Loner, though, is he is still only mining from one Vespene geyser. We do see some Marines now trying to make their way underneath that observer. Observer moves fairly slowly. However, those Marines will not be able to shoot down that one observer, just trying to scare it away. Able to see a little bit of that flicker there. Another SCV running head on into a Zealot side blades, and down it goes. Command center finally making its way over here. It will be placed now, and most likely some SCVs will be transferred over, as I believe Loner is beyond saturation here. No, he's actually at saturation. So now transferring some of those SCVs. Taking a look at the harvester count, NEXGenius has a really strong advantage in terms of harvester. If you take a look at the income tab, you can see 900 versus 920 here, and although it doesn't look too big of a difference, you can also tell that NEXGenius is double mining the amount of gas that Loner is. So basically, that will enable him to get more Colossi and more of those heavy tech units, as opposed to just the mass Marauders that you are now seeing coming in from Loner. So Loner moving out with these Marines and Marauders will quickly get taken down by the mass number of Colossi that are coming into play. In comes a scanner sweep. Taking a look at the site here, we do see the robotics facility and the robotics bay has been revealed, and now additional pylons and a forge now being brought into play. However, there is not the extended thermal lance research upgrade just quite yet. The Marines do not have that combat shield. We are getting a starport, however, a starport and another refinery finally. So it finally feels like Loner getting a stronger and stronger economy. Back over here, we do see the refinery being placed down. So Loner trying to catch up in terms of economy, but 44 harvesters compared to 33, that will be an uphill battle in order to get back into this game. So yeah, you can still take a look. 120 more gas, and about even on minerals, even though Loner is using all of those mules consistently. Hasn't really used that many scanner sweeps so far. Back over here, NEXGenius finally getting up to a 4th assimilator, but has yet to transfer any probes yet. So as soon as I believe NEXGenius remembers this, he will try to transfer more additional probes, as he is going for more of a heavy tech build with all of these Colossi, extended thermal lance research, and getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. And I'm thinking that the counter unit of NEXGenius is just going to be too strong. I do not see... Oh, we do have a reactor on the starport, so with the reactor on that starport, we will be able to get double Vikings. Those Vikings will be absolutely critical in shooting down those Colossi before they're able to deal any significant damage, and before they're able to counter all of these Marines and these Marauders. On top of that, there is not any research for the combat shield yet. So with that level 1 weapons upgrade, I believe the Colossi are able to do, what, 17 times 2 is 34 damage. They're able to 2-shot Marines even if they do not use that stim pack, so that will be a lot of damage, and almost able to one-shot them if they suffer any serious damage, one-shot them. So that's going to be a very hard for Loner to really recover from. We do see 2 Vikings now on the move. However, Stalkers getting a couple quick shots onto these Vikings. Army-wise, you now see Loner sitting at 3,100 against 2,825. However, the gas tells a different story. 1450 versus 750. 3 Colossi standing here, able to walk up and down cliffs, unable to walk over destructible rocks, however, as this factory came into position and tried to get some additional sight over here. But NEXGenius playing it very safe, not moving out. We do see one observer now in the air just trying to get sight. He does probably know about this expansion over here, as any good Korean player should know that there is already an expansion, but he's just trying to buy his time. Perhaps we're going to see another expansion coming here in just a moment by NEXGenius. It looks like he is going to try to set up an expansion at the center north side over here, as we now have 3 Vikings just moving around trying to do some scouting. Those Vikings have not gotten any kills whatsoever. Taking a look at the army, 3775 production wise, we are now getting the Zealot charge and more Colossi, so that Zealot charge will be able to just try to close in that gap and that distance on these Marauders and these Marines. Combat shield finally being researched, and it looks as though NEXGenius is not going to be doing any real pressuring So that will help Loner out, as that combat shield will be able to finish in time. We do have the level 1 weapons upgrade. However, we are now getting the level 1 armor upgrade for those Protoss units as well. So Protoss will have a lot. Vikings continuing to try to get more damage onto those units. I believe none of these Colossi were taken and were shot down. I believe perhaps just an observer was taken down. And now we do see one Marine standing guard here, going to be able to shoot this probe. Probe doesn't stand a chance, as that probe was only able to get 2 shots off there. We do see another Viking joining in on this fight. So we have 6 Vikings able to deal 24 damage and attack about 144 damage. And yeah, you guys can 144. Now we have 8. So what? I'm not going to try to do the math. Sorry. Anyways, we do have these Vikings over here now, so these Vikings will be able to, I believe, about 2-shot any of those Colossi. Colossi being very careful to make sure that they are not within Viking damage range. So these Vikings perhaps going to try to come from this side, and if Loner is able to get some damage onto these Vikings, perhaps shoot them down before they're ready, that would be a significant loss. There's 1 round of attack and another, oh, down to 2 hit points. Very nicely done by NEXGenius. NEXGenius saving that Colossi at 2 hit points. So armor for the win there. That Protoss armor protecting that Colossi. However, Stalker is now trying to get underneath these Vikings. Vikings desperately trying to get away, and they will be able to as they fly over a hole in the middle of the map. Those those Stalkers unable to catch up there. We are getting also Psystorm, and I like this tech switch by NEXGenius, with NEXGenius now getting Psystorm and Colossi, and I do not believe Loner is getting any ghosts so far. That Psystorm will be able to deal a lot of damage, and now in comes a fight over here. So we do see a large number of units. We have a Guardian Shield already up. Zealots now trying to get within that, and now we have Stim trying to micro back and forth, able to pick off a lot of those Zealots. So Zealots taking some damage. Back and forth they go. In comes some force fields as well, as those Vikings try to get flanking onto the north position over here. Those Vikings should just trying to go after Colossi here, as there are a lot of Stim. NEXGenius fighting back and forth as these Marines and Marauders trying to close within that distance. A lot of these Vikings still shooting down, getting another Colossi. So now 4 Vikings and 1 Colossi left. That Colossi needs to be careful. However, that Colossi just looking to try to deal more damage, able to kill off 1 or 2 Marauders, but that was not an even trade, as we see a 3150 versus a 2500. However, with Psystorm nearing completion, this may change the game significantly. Yeah, we do see a factory over here. The factory has been landed, and there is a photon cannon making its way, trying to shoot down this 1 Hellion. I'm not quite sure what Loner's trying to do here. It looks like this factory may be able to train up 1 Hellion, get out. However, this Hellion is just going to stand here and get shot down by this 1 unit over here. In the center of the map, we do see Marauders and Marines. However, that's going to get shot down very quickly, as we have now Colossi able to slice through with that extended thermal lance range. Level 1 weapons upgrade, the amulet research nearing completion, and more Colossi coming in. And like this play by Loner, Loner now setting up his expansion, already upgrading to a planetary fortress, and now getting an additional starport. So with this additional starport, not quite sure what all these SCVs are doing up on this high ground. Perhaps he misclicked, and no, trying to repair all of these Vikings. So nicely done. And yeah, gonna get underneath all of these Vikings and try to repair them up and engaging in another fight. However, the army of NEXGenius now coming out will be able to deal a lot of damage. The planetary fortress will be nearing completion, and now trying to hide behind it. And there it goes. Now that planetary fortress will be able to deal 40 damage per attack, and also deal a lot of splash damage. So with this planetary fortress already getting 2 to 3 kills, 2 kills. And however, that amount of splash damage was not reflected. And wow, NEXGenius being very careful to not take any additional damage here. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between NEXGenius and Loner here on Scrap Station.